Yeah, namaste, all of you. I see a lot of mentors, a lot of children, and of course, our panelists, Madhu, Sarvesh, and the other mentors, Aarti, Mansi. So, we're all set, all ready for this exciting event. Over to our host for the evening, Shweta ma'am. She'll take on from now. So all the best, children. Have a great experience. We're all there with you. Let the best one win. But of course, all of you are winners here. So over to Shweta ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Namaste, everyone. Namaste and a very warm welcome to all of you to the most eagerly awaited Design Thinking Award virtual panel discussion. It is both an honor and a privilege to be virtually present here before you all today and welcome you for an inspiring panel discussion session. You can see my eagerness and my excitement. I forgot to turn on the mic itself. A school truly believes that an all round development of a child is very critical in building a bright future for them. Therefore, here we are committed to providing an atmosphere to our students where they can imbibe good values and keep learning new things every day. I'm extremely glad that I'm part of an institution that provides various opportunities to our amazing year cups to blossom. I believe as humans, we have evolved because of our constant efforts to innovate. In fact, our key to success and progress is our capacity for innovation, our ability to conceive actionable and effective ideas. But we all know that innovation doesn't come very easily. That's where design thinking comes in. Design thinking has been considered to be the holy grail of innovation and a remedy to stagnation. The ideology behind design thinking states that in order to come up with an innovative solution, one must adapt a designer's mindset and approach the problem from a user's perspective. Though this academic year has been very challenging for all of us, we as a school were able to rise to the occasion and ensure that an important event like the Design Thinking Award was not affected. We are very proud of the fact that we as a team have been able to overcome all challenges, especially technical ones. And here we present to you a virtual panel discussion. A quest for design thinkers has led us to the day. I, Shweta Chatterjee, feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all the dear clubs present, which includes a team of panelists, one representative from each grade, grade 8 to 12, our esteemed guest of honor, Ms. Madhumita Srinivasan, our chairman, sir, Dr. M. Srinivasan, our executive director, Mr. Sarvesh Srinivasan, principal ma'am, Ms. Nandini Bhatt, vice principal ma'ams, and all my fellow mentors. We welcome you all. With the motto, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Let me take this opportunity to introduce you all today to our panel. It is spearheaded by our chairman, sir, Dr. M. Srinivasan, our executive director, Mr. Sarvesh Srinivasan, and let me take this opportunity to welcome and introduce our esteemed guest of honor today, Ma'am Madhumita Srinivasan. Madhumita ma'am is an architect from RV School of Architecture, one of the leading architecture schools in Bangalore. Very passionate about design and living life sustainably. Ma'am loves to support artisans and artists and works to develop their trade. She believes in the power of images to tell a story and inspires everyone around her. She has a natural ability to look at the problem from first principles that help address the core issues rather than just put a band-aid and solve it, which actually lies at the core of design thinking. Welcome, ma'am. I also welcome Vibha Arvind, our very first Design Thinker awardee, to join the panel. Joining her will be Aarti ma'am and Marcy ma'am. We welcome you all. Competition is always a good thing. It forces us to do our very best. And with that, it gives me an immense joy to introduce our 5 panelists who have been selected through very rigorous and many rounds in the selection process itself. As I call out your names, please turn on your cameras, which are already turned in case if they are not, and please introduce yourselves. So first, from grade 8, we have Sanvi Chauhan. Sanvi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Sanvi Chauhan from grade 8, and I like reading a lot, except study books, obviously. And this competition gave me an opportunity to just take a minute and think about how many problems we face every day and how simple these solutions are. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Tanvi. Then from grade 9, we have Maya Mohan. Maya, please introduce yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Namaste, my name is Maya. I enjoy reading and I enjoy solving puzzles, especially Sudokus. Um, I've been learning karate since grade 3 and I'm currently a brown belt. I also enjoy swimming and yoga. The design thinking competition has encouraged me to think about how you can solve problems in different ways and how you can choose the best possible solution. I also enjoy trying my hand at using tools.
Wow, that's really nice. Next, I call from grade 10, Medini M. Medini, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, ma'am. Namaste, I'm Medini. I'm from grade 10. Really like drawing, and that would be helpful in this case for designing solutions. And I just feel after the competition, I've been able to look at things more critically, but also look for the solutions. And I just really thank you all for the opportunity to be part of this discussion.
From grade 11, we have Pranav Agarwal. Pranav, would you please introduce yourself?
Namaste everyone, my name is Pranav, I'm from 11G and I enjoy a wide variety of things actually, and I mostly also like using hands-on science, anything which you get your hands dirty with the solution, so stuff like robotics to help, and that's probably one of the things you can use to help in the design thinking process. And I appreciate this competition for I have to take a step back and just think at all the solutions and think differently a little bit. I thank all of you for being part of this panel.
Thank you, Pranav. And last but not the least, from grade 12, we have Lakshana Mukundan. Lakshana, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Lakshana, and I study in class 12G. And in the past 2 weeks, I've actually looked at design thinking in various fields that I've been part of. Like, I would like to become a doctor when I grow up. I've looked at design thinking in the medical field. I've read about that, and I've also seen examples of design thinking in music, which I've learned since I was a kid. And even in like the simple things that I do in general, like for my coaching classes, I study physics. So when I study physics in these 2 weeks, I've seen a more conceptual approach and exactly how to attack each problem conceptually and not formula based. And this competition, this panel, these discussions have helped me a lot in that case.
Wow. Congratulations to and all the very best to each and every one of you. I now request our chairman, sir, Dr. M. Srinivasan, to initiate the discussion. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shweta ma'am. First and foremost, for those children who are not part of this discussion, I don't think you are anything less than anybody else. So when there is a selection, you may get selected, you may not get selected, but there is nothing to feel disappointed. Number two, each one of you here, part of the competition, you are the topmost in your grade. Now we are competing to be the topmost in the school. Most welcome, and never get disappointed. Always look at the learning. What did you gain? What has changed you? And how you can progress on your own. Having said that, I'm sure you all might have asked this question. We are a school of multiple intelligences. What is this thing called design thinking. Are we not okay with the way we are doing with multiple intelligences? If we hone our intelligences, won't we become great? Yes, but there are two different things. We are looking at multiple intelligences, which is mainly cognitive, which is mainly the way your brain works. I realized that you need to have multiple mindsets. When I say multiple mindsets, you don't have only design thinking mindsets. You may have a scientist mindset, you may have a creative writer's mindset. You have all the mindsets, like we say, you have all the intelligences. But what plays the most will help you to design your career. What we are trying to say is design thinking is about mindset rather than your intelligences. I'd like to give you an example. See, you take a great talented musician. He or she may be playing an instrument or singing, but is it enough to create a wave to be a great singer? If you are able to design, think in the field of music, you will be a different person. You'll make an impact in this world. Otherwise, somebody else will be doing the string pulling on you. You may be a great dancer, but somebody else will be managing you. If you can do design thinking, everything will be under your control. You will be able to achieve what you have in your mind. So we felt the need for design thinking for every child. Like Lakshana said, she wants to become a doctor, but want to apply design thinking in the field of medicine. Exactly what I'm trying to tell you. Somebody may be an engineer, somebody may be a teacher, somebody may be something else. Can you incorporate design thinking into that area and make it very impactful? That's what we are trying to do. Having the ability is one thing. Putting that ability into productive use is another thing. We are looking at the productive use of your ability here by design thinking. Okay? So even if somebody asks you which you would normally have, you must be able to answer design thinking is your performance, is your ability to do something. Okay? What I look at design thinking to be need not be the same what you're looking at. I mainly look at 4 aspects because my interaction with you will be around these 4 aspects. A design thinker needs to be an enterprising person. If he is not enterprising, he is always afraid of the future, afraid of imponderables, afraid of unpredictability, then you can't be a design thinker. You need to take a lot of risks and challenges. So an enterprising mindset is different from a Naukri mindset, meaning a job mindset. You can do a job, you can be a CEO, even then you are a job mindset person. You may be only 10th grade pass, or maybe even 6th grade pass. You may be doing a lot of things, then your design thinking is working. You're doing something for the community, you're doing something for the world. So what I'm trying to say is your enterprising mindset, which we are trying to develop indirectly in our school, should be strong. This mindset, I'm sure at least this group of children, you would have heard of the book called Mindset by Carol Dweck, which we discussed. Mindset was one of our themes of the year. So mindset is being looked at as an important thing. Design thinking gives a different angle to it. The second thing is, you may be talented, you may be intelligent, you may be an extremely good person, But your thinking has to be productive. It should be useful to the public, useful to the people. That's where the kind of dimension of empathy comes. If you remember the discussion last, Sarvesh talked about empathy. You have to look at people. You have to look at helping people, making them move forward. So that is possible only if it is productive. It's possible scientists discover something or invent something which need not be productive. That becomes productive maybe after 2 or 3 centuries. For example, somebody discovered what happens at minus, let's say, 2000 degrees Celsius. That would have been useful that time. Applications come later on, and anything useful to common people come much later on. So, what a scientist does, he doesn't have an immediate use in his mind. He wants to discover something new, create something new, invent something new. That is scientist. But design thinker doesn't do like that. He wants results immediately. Immediately in the sense, maybe in next 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. Okay, the third is, in all these things, your imagination plays a great role. If you cannot see anything beyond your nose, you can possibly create nothing. So being able to imagine the other person's role, imagine things which don't exist, imagine results, imagine consequences, then you'll be able to do what you have in your mind. The last thing is, of course, put all these things together. I think which Artima mentioned last, creativity. So I am looking at these 4 main qualities, which makes into a very nice acronym, EPIC. EPIC. Okay, it need not be perfect. It is not a researched acronym, but it's a very workable acronym. Okay, it helps me to look at design thinking under these 4 aspects. Of course, whatever you learn, that should play a role. Whatever you have not learned, you have to learn from others. Then only you can pick up. So with this in mind, we are trying to discuss this so that it spreads across to all the children of the school. It need not be only these 5 or only these 5 grades. I'm sure many parents are listening to it. They will be more interested in listening to all the children and talk to their children. So we want to have the Gear family being aware of, being sensitive to, and engaged with the thing called design thinking. It was a wave we did with multiple intelligences. We are trying to create a second wave of design thinking so that when combined, you become something unique, something very great in this world. Okay, that's the background of this design thinking. I have not got into the technical aspects of design thinking because I'm not qualified for that. I've not done a course in this. I have not studied many people. I might have studied 1 or 2 articles. That's all. But I'm trying to make, or I'm trying to kind of leverage what I have learned and experienced. I also look forward to learning from each one of you as to what you think design thinking to be. And that's how we are going to move forward as Gear. All right. I'm very happy to see this because it is not easy for a school to look at this aspect and to have children like you at that level of discussion. I'm extremely happy, satisfied, and look forward to thinking of many new things. All right. With that confidence, with that ability in your mind, go ahead, be original in your thoughts. Don't try to borrow anything, but always make use of Others' ideas, others' leftover. See, they wouldn't have used, you use them. They wouldn't have find the value, you find the value. That's how it becomes a collaborative work. Okay? So with all this in mind, let's see, we have a good time discussing what we call design thinking. Okay, thank you, Shweta ma'am. Now we can kind of request the judges. I will kind of jump in with my question as a second round.
Thank you, sir. I invite the judges to open today's discussion. Madhuvan?
Hello. Well, I'd actually like to kind of begin with the students asking me a question or the other judges a question about design thinking. What would your question to us be? Since you've been thinking about design I'm thinking for a couple of months at least now, hopefully years, what would your question to us be?
Actually, Madhu has preempted one of my questions.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, Pranav, you would like to go first with Madhu ma'am's question?
Yeah, ma'am. I just wanted to ask, since I think everybody's thought flow is ever so slightly different, what would your thought flow be towards like design thinking? Suppose you have a solution, a problem, how would you work towards the solution? Because
well,
That's not really a question, isn't it?
okay, let me, so your question is, how would I approach design thinking?
I could be a little more specific if you wish.
Yes, that will help.
Oh, yeah. So, no, since everybody here is like different specialization in like fields. So if you were given a problem in your field, what would you start with and how would you work towards it?
Well, I've always been in the field of art and design. So it's very natural for me to approach it from a visual and spatial intelligence because it comes very naturally to me. But I think over the years, for me, design thinking has become a way of life. It's not really finding a solution only when I come across a challenge, but it's kind of turned into always finding a problem, and not from a critical point of view, but searching for the right problem now has become a way of life for me. Because often when you start looking at an isolated problem and you think that's the beginning of your process, it might not be. It might be a very symptomatic problem. You know what I mean? The problem that we are looking as the main problem to which we want to find a solution might just be one of the symptoms. So tracking down the right problem, I think, has become a way of life for me now. And yes, I know finding a solution is what generally people think of as design thinking, that you have to be able to have like a solution A or a solution B, and that's when you've kind of, succeeded. But I think for me, it has to be a never-ending solution, like a constantly evolving process. For me, is what is design thinking. Because if the minute you think, okay, I've arrived at a solution, it might not really be that you're great at design thinking, because it might not be the end, and you might find another challenge after that. So I think that's how I'd look at it.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess based on what I understood from what you said is, finding problems and not solutions is a great way of looking at it. So when you're going about it,
great start. Yes.
Yeah. So after that, I guess, so if you have a problem, you can look deeper into it, because again, the art of finding problems, as you said, is probably a little harder than the art of finding solutions.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, Lakshana, please.
Yeah, Lakshana.
Ma'am, I was going to ask a very similar question to what he had asked, and you've also answered that. But I had another question about, like, if a child came to you with a very vague idea of an invention, suppose, like when I was about 9 or 10, I came up with an invention of a paper detector which I could find my lost homework with, and I could like write a specific word and see if we could find that. If a child came to you with such an idea, how would you advise the child to go forth with it?
Uh, so I'm a person who never I never offer advice. So I'd ask the child more questions, and I think that's something that is the most important aspect of designing something, which is why also I wanted to know from you guys what questions you would ask us, because the entire aspect of this way of life that I think design thinking is asking the right questions. So if some child came to me and already has the ability to be able to identify a challenge in his or her life and start thinking of ways to overcome that challenge, I think asking that child more questions would lead him or her towards, a more addressed innovation, rather than me saying, maybe not this, maybe not that. There would be guidance, but there wouldn't be advice. So that's my short answer. I would facilitate her, in that process, but I wouldn't really advise her.
Thank you, ma'am. Maya, I think you can go start.
Yes, ma'am. Namaste, ma'am. Ma'am, so my question is, why do you think some problems are better than others, and what is your criteria for judging a solution?
Why are some problems better than others? I think it has to do with also your passion or your skill level. I think when you're passionate about something, then you start enjoying those problems, because that's something that you're really passionate about. Also, I think age has nothing to do with design thinking, because some of the best age groups that I've worked with when I did work with children was the preschoolers, because they absolutely had no inhibition and free thinking, and did not care about the product or the result or the solution, completely enjoyed the process with a sense of abandon. Like, they didn't care about the outcome, they cared only about the process. So in that sense, can you ask me a question again? I kind of got lost in my thought.
Ma'am, I meant to ask, why do you think some solutions are better than others?
So that is about passion, but I think the second level is also about skill. And we often confuse that, you need to have a certain skill to be able to think, and not say thinking itself is a skill. You either think, like one of you, I think, said you have the ability to draw, so you thought you're going to be good at this. Who was that? One student said that when you introduced yourself. Who's one of you? Medhini said that. Well, that's your skill, darling. You're good at drawing, so that's your skill. So if you're going to utilize your skill, then you're also going to enjoy that problem, because you're only utilizing this skill of yours. But I don't think design thinking requires a sharpened skill in any particular intelligence, because Lakshana plans to utilize it to probably become a better doctor, or treat her patients better, or understand medicine better. So you also enjoy problems when you have an enhanced passion for a skill. But I also think that having the ability to think in different intelligences is very important, and not isolate yourself with respect to your skill. I'm good at math, so what am I doing in a design thinking discussion? Or I'm great at art, so of course I got selected for design thinking. I think breaking that pattern of isolating and saying I have this skill, So I have that intelligence. I don't have the skill, so I might not have that intelligence, is very primitive thinking. Yeah. So I'm kind of glad that one of you actually brought in a field of science and said that's design thinking as well. So I think that's another thing. If you enjoy your intelligence and sharpen your other skills, that's when you'll start enjoying some problems over others. So identifying that is great. That's a good question, by the way. Maya. Yeah.
Thanks, Madhu ma'am. Thanks, Maya. Sanvi, you can start.
Yes, ma'am. Namaste, ma'am. So
Namaste.
I actually have two questions.
Uh-huh.
I have an problem, but how do I know what is the perfect solution for it? I may have two, three solutions. How do I know which one is the perfect solution? And after getting the solution, how do I implement it in my daily life?
Are you looking for a perfect problem first or a perfect solution?
A perfect solution.
A perfect solution. Well, so there are two ways, okay? So I call that the pursuit of the perfect problem and the pursuit of a perfect solution. Now, if you're in the pursuit of a perfect problem, even then, I doubt you would have a perfect solution. It might be a momentarily, you might feel like, oh, this is perfect because it works for that moment. But would it work for the next moment? Would it have worked in the past? Would it work, like, say, 1 hour from now? So I think the minute you're in pursuit for a perfect solution, that's like chasing, a unicorn or a leprechaun, or, I personally believe that it doesn't exist. But if you're in the pursuit for a perfect problem, then I think the chances of you coming closer to a solution that works universally would be higher. So that's one. What was your second question?
The second question was, if I have a solution, how do I make it better and how do I implement it in my daily life?
So let's say you've arrived at some kind of a solution that you're happy with, works in the moment. So let's call that the perfect solution. Okay. How do you make it work? By applying it across everything that you do and see the number of applications that it has. And sometimes people kind of think of productivity only singularly. They don't think across the spectrum. They don't apply it in different, methods. So if I have something, if I'm not going to apply it in different ways, in different means, using different skills, it might not be really productive. And I think Sir kind of mentioned that, Sarvesh, in your previous discussion, spoke about empathy. So empathy is one big part of that. How do you do it? If you're empathetic enough, then you start thinking about application in a larger spectrum and not isolating it as my problem today is this. And I want to work it on this timeline. And I'm going to work only for tomorrow. Then it's not going to work. Yeah, because you're isolating, you're already cutting down. The minute you cut down the number of questions you're asking, the minute you're looking at only one solution and not many, the minute you think that you have to apply it only to, a closed circle, all of those will not come as, I think, even a basic solution, forget a perfect solution. So how do you apply? Think of it not just from one point of view, but many, many points of view. And think of options where you think it would fail. I'd start there. I'd not start where you think you're going to succeed. First, try out all things you think is going to fail. I think that's the best way to do things.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Madhu ma'am. Medini?
Yes, I had a question that was similar to Sami's first question. It's do you think there's any problem that can't have a perfect solution? Any specific problem?
See, again, I said that, have you guys, okay, raise your hands if at any given point of time you have found a perfect solution that's worked for more than a day. Perfect solution. Like, this is a problem. This is like the perfect solution. Okay, you've got that perfect solution, which is in that moment, right? Where you think, my son always says, ta-ta-da, like, this is it, kind. Have you had that moment for more than a day?
Mom, I would like to say something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would say. I mean, I agree with you that a perfect solution doesn't really last forever. But I think a better way to define a perfect solution would be, the harder the problem, the harder the intellectual exercise you have to do to get to the solution. The bigger the tada moment, right? That moment, that eureka moment, that would be, I guess, the perfect solution, at least for the moment. So so instead of like a forever solution, maybe a solution that seems impossible.
Yeah, it might be for 5 minutes, it could be for like a day, it could even be for like a week. Yeah, it could even last you your year. But the minute you think that's the perfect solution, the minute there are other problems coming out of that perfect solution that you guys have made, because there's a reason that doctors also give you those medicines for side effects, right? Because the medicine is there, you consume it, it takes care of your problem, but doesn't it also give you other problems? Yeah. So then do you start taking medicines for those problems? But you've always given side effects. So yes, there is no perfect solution that can last for a longer length of time. It lasts when you have kind of abandoned it after that and you're not going back to it, which is what I call going beyond the finishing line. So if you're running a race and you think the perfect solution is, I do 100 meters in what? 100 meters was the record. 5 seconds, 6 seconds, what is it? 100 meters, fastest record, whatever. Okay, let's say a minute. And you're not going to challenge yourself beyond that finishing line, and you think I've achieved it and that's the perfect solution, then you're capping yourself at that point. So, which is why I kind of do not recommend having a perfect solution for anything. Yeah, have solutions and then kind of go back and dwell on those solutions as well. If you're not reflecting and you're saying this is a perfect solution and you're not going back and reflecting on those perfect solutions, then I think that's an interesting problem actually. That's, I think, the problem that we'd like to work on for design thinking. People who are finding perfect solutions. Yeah. I have nothing against solutions. It's great, but if you're going to pursue design thinking from a solution point and not from, like, say, so you're always thinking of the product, right? I need to arrive on a solution. But maybe every single moment you are working on that design is kind of summing up to aspects of that solution. And I'd like you guys to kind of dwell on that rather than arriving at a perfect solution. That's why, for me, a champion of design thinking is always the person who kind of is thinking of problems and identifying what the real problem is, rather than saying, I need to find a solution and it has to be perfect. Yeah. And have we finished with the round have all of you asked questions?
Yeah, Madhu ma'am, I think Lakshana also had raised hand. I think on the same thing she has to continue.
Okay.
Yeah, ma'am, I wanted to say that, like, when you think of a perfect solution for those 5 minutes, you feel like you've achieved something really great. But but then you do realize that you can improve upon it. But after those 5 minutes, you realize that that you're capable of actually addressing the problem to an extent, if not fully, because like you can't actually know how to attack the problem fully, and especially on the first try. But you know how to attack it one part, like part by part. And like, ma'am, as you said, you have to evaluate the problem and you have to go deep into the problem to understand it. Even in simple things like math, when you do a math problem, they ask us write given and to prove and all the steps, which actually have really helped me. Like you know what they're asking you, and you know what the question says. So I think the perfect solutions that like we think they're perfect solutions, I think they're just step by step methods to solve that one problem, and they can even be extended.
Yes. I think I'd like to ask a question with respect, because this word perfection has kind of come up in, like most of you have spoken about a perfect solution. My question to you guys would be, what is your definition of perfection? It could be with respect to your lifestyle, it could be with respect to your mindset, it could be with respect to the way you approach things. Okay, I'd like you guys to define perfection to me. I'm just curious. Maya's raised her hand.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I think perfection is just something. It's not. There's no such real thing as perfection. I think it's just fantasy, because everything can be improved upon, and there's no end point. So you can always work on something, however perfect it may seem. So I don't think there is actually something called perfection.
Well, you might be right.
Pranav has raised that. Yeah, Pranav.
Yes.
I mean, as they say, there are quite a few sayings, you cannot achieve perfection, perfection is the journey, all that. And I would say, each of them have a grain of truth in it. So for me, you have to strive towards perfection. You might know that you may never reach perfection, but with each iteration of your product, right? Suppose you're saying you're doing something, and each time you make something, each time you come up with something, you learn something, right? And that brings you one step closer to perfection. But perfection again is inattainable. So yeah, I guess it's a journey in that sense. So many sayings, they have all a grain of truth. You can't be a perfectionist because you can't get away with being a perfectionist, because again, perfection is unattainable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks, Pranav. Then I'll continue with Lakshana.
As everybody else said, perfection isn't something which like is actually real. It's like how you say like in the living state, like we perform work to remain in the living state, but you can't go to equilibrium. Similar to that, like it's like an effort to reach equilibrium or perfection, but it can't actually happen in real life. But still, we'll strive to do that as much as we can.
Yeah, thank you, Lakshana. I think I saw Medini and then Sambi. We'll go in this order.
I think perfection is a goal that everyone tries to reach, even if they can never reach it. And if someone feels that they've achieved perfection, it's just that moment of satisfaction that makes them think so.
That's nice. Yes. Sanvi, I think, is the last.
Yeah, to me, I think perfection is just reaching the best or the best potential you can get to. For me, but when I say perfection, the best I could do would be perfection to me. Or in a solution, perfection would be what fulfills all the users' needs the best and is more user centric to them.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. I think your understanding and your approach to perfection is perfect. It's really great, because yes, in pursuit is basically the journey, like Pranav said, and enjoying that process and finding that momentarily you're satisfied, like Medini said, is all part of this world where we label it as perfection, but it's you going through that journey and process. So all of your understanding of perfection is great, which is why my question is, when it comes to the solution, when you say you want a perfect solution, are you looking at it as the process or as the final moment where you have arrived at the solution? What do you think is perfection in that process of design thinking? Is it the moment where you think you find the right problem, you are doing all your research and finding all of this data, and you've collected all relevant, data and research? Is it the moment of analysis where you're analyzing all of this? Is it the moment of synthesis where you're bringing it down to say, these are my probable solutions? Or is it that moment where you've decided this is the best solution? What in all this would you categorize as perfection?
I think we have responses ready from Pranav and Lakshana. So Pranav and Lakshana will go and take in that order.
Oh yeah, mom. So you said when you're going through the process, right? And you have a lot of milestones, and I feel like all of them, partially they're correct. You can't have like a full feeling, but in my opinion, like whenever you're working towards something, right? You're in the process, and everything just sort of clicks, right? And you're just like, okay, I'm on track. I can work on this for another 3 years. I have the drive, and I figured out a way to go forward for the next 2 years. So in the normal definition of perfect, that might not be true because you have not reached a solution, but in my opinion that is the best moment in the process as it is. So I would define that as a perfection in the process.
Okay.
Lakshana, thanks Pranav.
I'd like to say that the perfect moment in the process is probably more like moments than a moment itself. But it's when you have gone so deep into the problem and you understand a user-centric approach, like Sanvi said, and so you've started coming up with the solutions, like you've decided which direction that you could go to approach and attack the problem, and think of a solution.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not really confused on what's going on. You know what's happening, and you know what needs to happen so that the problem can be solved. Maybe you won't have the exact solution and you won't know exactly what to do, but you have a basic approach to it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, as Lakshana said, the moment of, I think, crystal clear clarity, right? It happens once or twice in the process, and it just that would be crystal clear perfection in the moment. It might not be the perfection of the product or even the process, but the moment itself is perfect.
Yeah. And beautiful, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. All of your hands are up, so I don't know who's going next.
Maya, I saw Maya, Maya, Medini, Sanvi.
Okay, ma'am. So as I said, I don't believe in a perfect solution. But I think perfection is when you have a solution and you evaluate the solution, you see how good, how much of the problem it can solve and how many more problems it creates. That's how you work towards perfection.
Thanks, Maya. Medini?
I think that perfection is actually there in each stage. Like first, when we find the problem, we'll think that we found the perfect problem, and digging deeper into the problem to get all information, as much information as possible, until we get the perfect amount, and then trying to get as many perspectives and then a perfect solution. I think it's there in each stage.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I don't think the perfect moment is in the process, but in the outcome, when all the users are satisfied with the product, it gives a satisfaction. I think that is the perfect moment.
Great. My question to all of you would be, if you could replace the word perfect in this entire process, or with respect to Sanvi, a user being thrilled about the the product in the end. Could you replace that word perfect with something else?
If I were to replace the word perfect, I think it would be I think best or workable.
Workable, I like that word. Okay, workable is a great word.
See, as you said, when you're looking at the user experience and everybody's thrilled, or when you arrive at a place where you can move forward for the next, have a roadmap in your head, I would say it would be satisfaction, right? So instead of perfection, you reach satisfaction. So from there, you can always upgrade. That's why I was saying, you can be satisfied with your clarity, and there are many moments where you get satisfaction. But perfection is again something to strive for towards, like it's the end goal which you cannot reach, right? So satisfaction. From there on, you move. It's like it's a milestone. You say.
I'd say workable. Yes, that was workable, not perfect. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Lakshana?
Some people would think that it's optimal, and some people would think it's agreeable.
What would you think, Lakshana?
I would probably say that it's an agreeable solution, which
Agreeable?
it works at that moment of time. Sometimes, like,
Did you say agreeable?
Yes, ma'am. It's like a moving graph, like a graph which like changes with time. In each time there's a different peak, so it's like that. It keeps moving. I'm not sure how to describe that exactly in a word, but in a phrase you could say it's like a moving graph, and the peak can replace the word perfect.
Yeah. Thank you, Lakshana. Maya?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I would say instead of perfect, I'd use better, because you can have a better solution, but I don't think you can have a perfect solution.
Okay. Okay.
Medini?
My answer is similar to Sanvi's. It's like it's most applicable or most practical at the moment.
Okay. So can I say applicable is your word instead of perfect?
Yes.
You probably say I've come out with an applicable solution. Yeah, and I'm done. Can you also say, Sanvi, I came up with a workable solution, everyone's using it, they're happy about it, so I'm Can Pranav say I'm satisfied with my solution? I've enjoyed the process, I'm done. Can Lakshana say I've gained momentum throughout my process, and yes, I can move further up, but right now in this moment, I have an agreeable solution, so I'm done. Can Maya say I might have a better solution than this, but right now this is my solution, I'm done. Can you all say that? Because those are the words you used. Lakshana.
Yes,
Okay,
Lakshana.
Ma'am, you can't exactly say that you're done with it, because, like as Maya said many times, that you can't, like, perfection isn't real, right? So you can't exactly say that you're done with it, but you may say that you finished that stage and you move to the next stage.
Yeah,
Well,
it's all.
similarly, yeah. So similarly, you have, I mean, in what I think what you understood was satisfactory, which means it's a workable solution. It's just reached the point where you can, give it to people and say it works. I meant moments of satisfaction. So, different sense of the word. Yeah, so satisfaction. So you're satisfied.
So you're satisfied with that solution. So would you stop working on it?
No. Yeah. So you get
Because
a
you
moment.
replace, you guys also have to remember, you replace with perfect. Yeah, this was your replacement word for perfect. So usually when you reach, in the clinical sense, a perfect solution, you move on from that problem. So if you're satisfied, okay, you've got satisfaction from the solution you've arrived would you say you would stop working on that solution?
No. I mean,
No.
Okay, I think I'll go to Medini. Pranav, I'll give you a minute break so that you think and come back. Yeah, Medini.
I said most applicable at the moment, but it doesn't mean that new problems can't arise from that solution to others. So it will lead to more problem solving and more solution finding.
Exactly. So can we
Yes,
all
Sandy?
then...
Ma'am, I
Okay,
think
Sandy.
2 more are waiting, so we will
Two
have
more,
to. Yeah. Sandy and Maya, same order.
I think there's always room for improvement. So I chose the word workable. So that means in this situation, in this point right now, this solution is workable. Maybe in the future it may not be. I need to work on it. But as of now, it is workable.
Yeah, thanks, Sandy. Maya?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I chose better because this solution may be better than some others, but I choose best, so I can always work on it. I can always come up with a better
You
solution.
wouldn't stop. You continue working on it. Sanvi, you didn't tell me if you're going to continue working on your workable solution.
I will continue working on it.
Okay. So then we all agree that design thinking
yeah,
is a
so
never ending. Is there an end to design thinking then?
I think they are nodding their heads big.
Oh, I can't see all of you. I can see. Okay, so I will see you guys only
Okay.
when you answer the video. So
All of them are actually nodding their heads. Kana, can you all be a little vocal as well so that we can see here?
oh yeah, ma'am. So you said, would you stop working on it? So I realized, you said satisfaction means like an end goal, right? Because you're satisfied, you're not going to work on it anymore. So I didn't mean that. I meant, when you come up with a solution and you get that moment of satisfaction, that is what I meant by the word. But I would say iterable. You can upgrade it, you can tweak it a little bit as your situation changes. You can add stuff, you can remove stuff. But I would say it's the first big step to coming up with the solution. So iterable was what I would say. When you finally give something as a offering to the public, it would be the first iteration.
yeah, like you'd always have to put your phone on charge because you'll have updates. Yeah.
Yes, sort of like that, except it's a little more flexible process.
Do you guys have another question, or do I ask you guys a question?
I think it had been working mutually. The
Always.
entire process.
You can't have a design thinking panel and then say it's going to be a one-way process.
So, okay, children, meanwhile, in the last 2 weeks, what was something that you really felt happy about? The last 2 weeks. Last few weeks, not two. I mean, last few weeks, the moment we started. What was your happy moment? Because we were talking about all perfect solutions, moments, agreeable, workable, all the words. Was there any moment of the equivalent word of perfect? Did you encounter that in the last 3 weeks? Any one day or any time and during the last 3 weeks?
Let them come out with that.
Children, my question was clear, right? I said whatever we defined about our perfect solutions or moments, the last 3-4 weeks, the process that have been going through from the moment we started, did you encounter many such moments?
Or we can go back, just recollect the most joyous moment you had in the last few weeks. Then you'll see the reason for that. Okay, it need not be a solution that brought the joy. Just look at a moment of joy.
For me, it's something regarding this challenge actually. Like for the second level responses, the first response I gave, it just happened to come on me that I heard about, like I mentioned in my response, I talked about a device which detects ripe and raw fruit, which can differentiate between ripe and raw fruits. I just happened to come upon that in these few weeks, and it just so happened that I thought when my parents told me about that, I just my different take on it. It's just I thought that was what they had used, that was the technology that they had used for the thing, and I had asked them if that's the technology they used. I was talking about hormonal receptors for that, for seeing the ripeness of a fruit rather than camera or color receptors. But I thought that's the approach they used, and I had asked my parents if that was what went behind this, but they said no. But it's quite a good idea you've got there, and I was actually quite happy that I could come up with a kind of way to solve this issue, though it's a very generic issue. I could slightly come up with a way to solve this issue in a matter of minutes, which I felt really happy about that.
Thank you, Lakshana. Yes, we did. We also enjoyed going through those responses, especially with your idea with how we want to kind of connect to integrate it to the all other fields where, as you said about medicine or with music, with any field, it opens it's like wearing a hat and thinking at every moment and every problem is what I see. So thank you so much for sharing.
What are the skills that you enjoy most that you have kind of garnered through time? Like say from preschool to whichever grade you are in, have you acquired skills that you guys think you've reached perfection?
I think Sanvi has raised hand. Sanvi Gana, yes, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to answer the previous question where you had asked about the happiness. So I think after the competition, like the first round, after I got selected, um, everywhere I went, I saw problems. And then as soon as I saw these problems, I kept getting these ideas. Like, for example, when I was helping my mom in the kitchen, the pots and pans, you keep burning yourself. So I thought, why not get insulator on the rim so I do not burn myself? So the fact that I was able to come up with a solution to a problem, that an everyday problem, gave me a lot of happiness.
Way of life. You've made design thinking a way of life. Welcome to our world.
Thank you, Sanvi. Thank you, Sanvi. Maya, Pranav, Medini, who wants to take now? I saw Pranav. Yeah, Pranav, go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, it's in a similar vein, I guess. So basically, I wrote about, helping get statistical data using tech stuff, right? So I started work on that a few days before I wrote about it, which is why I wrote about it, because it was so fresh in my head. And every time you walk towards one step further, you get something, you work on a problem, a problem within the problem, and you get a small solution. Those small solutions are what made the entire process fun. And in my spare time, I've been working on coding the entire thing, and it's gradually coming together. So I guess that itself just gives me a lot of happiness over the past 2 weeks. That was, yeah.
That's great.
Maya?
Ma'am, I'm not sure yet.
Is this the happiness question still that we're answering?
Yeah, ma'am. Yes.
Maya, you're thinking about what made you happy till now? Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
It need not be a single answer, as ma'am said, as Madhu ma'am said.
You never found that happy moment. That's fine as well.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a happy moment. Maybe you haven't reached that moment yet, which is also a very good thing,
For Maya, you should learn to enjoy at least some moments. It need not be the perfect moment. You're a child yet. There will be so many things which should give you a pat on your back. So if you say, I have not reached that moment yet, I don't believe that, but I can only say you have to learn to recognize that. Okay?
Yes.
Medini, are you ready, Medini?
Ma'am, actually, I just think that I've been able to find more problems that are there in existing solutions. And I just felt happy that I was able to find them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good start, right? Sorry, sir. Go ahead.
I think we have reached a very high level. Let's come down to the ground for a while. I'm going to ask all of you a question for which you would definitely have an answer, but you have to think and answer. The fact is that you're all in senior classes. That means to talk about this design thinking, we need academic knowledge. Do you get my point? If you have academic knowledge, then you can think of design thinking. If you are just thinking of design thinking without knowledge, that could be by a chance. Okay? So I want you to think about yourself and let us know how you can say studying subjects is essential to have any kind of thinking, including design thinking. See, many can say, why do you go to school? What do you learn there? You don't use it in life. I have a very strong answer for that, but I would like answers from you, from your personal experience, if you can. Anybody didn't get the question? All of you got the question, all right? Okay, anybody can go ahead.
Yes, sir. I think Lakshana, will you be ready, dear?
I would like to say that, like, as I had mentioned before, I want to be a doctor, right? And in this sense of medicine, they have come up with a lot of new technology on the basis of their knowledge of the subject, and that's how they were able to create the solutions. Like we can say our COVID vaccines, like some of them work on mRNA technologies or by retroviral vectors, but they wouldn't be able to do that if they didn't know the subject itself, right? And I think you could say similar to that of two anecdotes I've mentioned both in this session about when I was 9 or 10 about a paper detector that I'd come up with. I didn't know how to actually implement that, right? I didn't know how to actually, I just thought that I could find a way to find my homework, which I kept losing. I still do keep losing my homework if it's on sheets. But like, but now maybe if I think about that more, we have scanning apps on technologies. We could use like computer recognition to recognize a letter, a specific word, which you could find on different, which you could like use to detect the different sheets. And like the hormone receptors on fruits that I had come up with, I don't think I would have known that the ripe fruits secrete a hormone ethylene, and so that we can say that they're ripe because they secrete that hormone. I don't think I would have known that before, like prior study on the subject. So I think that some an analogy of this is really justified, that design thinking also involves the knowledge of the subject itself so that you can improve upon it.
Good.
As Lakshana said, if you don't have prior knowledge of the subject, you can't think of different ways to, if you have prior knowledge of the subject, you can think of the, many ways you can approach the subject itself. And as so said, why some people argue against, basic education, as in like, why would you send your school kid to higher education? Why would you send your kid to education when you can, just do stuff on your own? But I would say that, having a base with all your subjects, a comprehensive base, would be very important, because otherwise you cannot like relate things together. And that's a very important thing in any sort of innovation, any sort of design. You need to be able to link things together. That's also a very important way of thinking. On top of that, when you have like higher education, right, very, very specialized education, you will see that those people are the only one of the few people who come up with advances in technology. That's because they're working on stuff that is already being worked by others before. That's very important. To be able to iterate on what is already being done, you need to know what's happened before. and that only happens when you study very in depth in your chosen subject. So it's like Google has this quote on their web search engine. It's called "Standing on the shoulders of giants." You don't have to do everything from scratch. You can start from by looking to other references, learning about stuff before you work on the problem.
Nice.
So I think that some knowledge is required and essential because you need to base your idea on something. You need a strong base in buildings and structures. If you don't have a strong base, the whole building can collapse. So I feel if you have a strong base, a simple knowledge of what you're trying to do or what your idea is based on, you can have a really good you have a really good idea and solution, and can think of different ways to implement it, or you have different ways to approach the idea and problem.
Yeah, good thinking.
Maya?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I think why you need a base, why you need education, is because I don't think if you want to do design thinking in general and not in a specific subject, I think you should have a little bit knowledge about like varied subjects and not in-depth knowledge. In-depth knowledge you can collect while you're trying to find a solution. So you can use data that's already available, and that's how you find a solution. And you need the basic education because you need to know where to start.
Okay, good.
So I think we need basic education in all subjects so that it helps us find a better solution, and it might also help us identify other problems. Like in the previous round, I wrote that the current problem bothering me was about electric cars, that they have many wastes despite being a replacement for fossil fuel cars that run on petrol and diesel. And they use certain rare metals that are used for their property, but I was not aware of the properties for the reason they're used. So I couldn't think of a proper solution. But if we have better knowledge, we would be able to find a better solution.
So basically, when you say school, first you acquire the skills needed to understand others, needed to acquire the knowledge which already exists in your domain. Okay. Second, you also develop an ability to branch off on your own. That means you may say, I will only study about cars. I may study only about internal combustion engine. I may study only about functions of one finger. So all these things are possible only based on your domain knowledge. So like that, this is a quick answer I want all of you to give. Can you tell me the academic knowledge that helped you to come out with a part of design thinking? What academic knowledge you used to do some design thinking? It's a quick thing. Add to that, if you have any suggestion, what else you should study to be able to be a better design thinker? Is there anything that we can add to our subjects to be a better design thinker? Combine both the questions. One question is, which part of knowledge helped you? For example, you've got two mathematics teachers on the panel. Does learning a Pythagoras theorem help you to solve problems? So then you can say, yes, learning of Pythagoras theorems helped me. Or learning about some chemical reactions, or some social conditions, or some economic principles. What domain knowledge helped you to come out with your design thinking? The second part is, do you have any suggestion to be added to our study? Is it a tough question? What are made you say?
Sir, I think Maya and Pranav are ready. So Maya, I'll go with you.
Everybody ready? Good. Go ahead.
Oh yes, sir. So I think it's maths that helped me in design thinking, because math is all about finding solutions to problems. and a subject that you could add to help people become better design thinkers probably would be problem solving. That includes all sorts of puzzles that make you think out of the box.
Okay, good idea. Good, thank you.
Sir, if I could add one more point, what Maya has told just now, just for everybody in the panel here, Maya is in grade 9, and Maya, along with 4 other students, they did a very nice study on the statistical subject. When I was teaching statistics, it was not very interesting for the 9th graders, so I just introduced Simpson's paradox and few paradoxes, and from there I just asked them whether they could do a research on the COVID data and come out with a statistics of how the vaccination should be given and what is the idea of choosing the right people. And they did a fabulous study on it, and I think I shared that with all our senior teachers and sir and Sarvester, and that was a lovely study what they did in statistics, and I think quite a lot of design thinking we tried to implement in it, and thanks to Maya for that.
So does it mean that we should introduce statistics much earlier?
I would say any kind of small project we do and we implement. That's what was my idea to introduce. I think, sir, you are the best person, and students can also give their view on it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, so I would like to start with the second part of your question first. So as you said, what would you suggest to, academically, so that you can increase your, design thinking horizons, right? So what I've noted in what I've studied some popular entrepreneurs over the past 30, 40 years. And one of the most important things I've noticed is that they do something new, which is obviously true, but how they do it is the interesting bit. Basically, what they do is they take 2 or 3 seemingly unrelated domains and they combine them, right? So doing, as ma'am said early on, isolating yourself to one thing is not a good idea. So even though, follow your passion, and even though it may look unrelated, they might combine later on to, give you a new product. For example, Steve Jobs, when he was in his college days, he combined his experience with tech, and he took a digital handwriting class. I mean, a calligraphy class. So both of them together helped him create the interface for like Mac as we know today. So that has influenced, it's a big innovation, right? And he wouldn't have been able to come up with it unless he did both of them together. So as I would say, limiting yourself to one field may not always be the right approach. And for me, I think the thing that helped me was with whatever design thinking was, is starting off with a really wide sort of subject analysis before solving or trying to solve a problem. So if suppose I'm working with something in AI, I would look and try and study everything computer related. So seemingly unrelated connections would pop up and it would help me. So yeah.
Yeah, wonderful, Pranav. Actually, I'm planning to introduce a kind of activity wherein all the 11th and 12th graders will study many entrepreneurs, whether they are doing science or commerce or arts, doesn't matter. I'm just trying to figure out how we can do that. Okay, thank you, Pranav.
Pranav, I have one question before we move to the next one. So
Yes,
that integrated thing, do you mean more of the STEM education or more of entrepreneurial side of it?
No,
I didn't
actually
get
what
you.
happens, Mansi ma'am, when we come to 11th, our compartmentalization becomes more strict.
Exactly, sir. Yes.
Okay, what I am trying to see, do something which is common to all of them.
Ma'am, it need not be STEM.
One of them would be just study of entrepreneurs and get to know. See, if you are learning something about Steve Jobs, you can be doing commerce, you can be doing medicine, you can be doing engineering, anything is okay. So I'm trying to look at a study of entrepreneurs by all the 11th graders. There's one more thing which is I'm just letting it out. I want to study great moments in science. What I mean is, how a certain thing was invented because of certain happenings around. Like how they invented the tank during war. Now you are using the principle of the tank everywhere. Your JCB, you see on the roadside, without the tank principle, this won't work. So like that, there are two things I want to introduce to all. We will see that later on. Anyhow, just it's a point I mentioned.
Yeah,
Mom,
that's
and as you
great
said,
idea.
it need not be STEM related. For all we know, you can find very important connection between English and economics. You never know. It's the most unexpected places where you find them pop up. As in my example, I told you, calligraphy and technology made a
Steve
very
Jobs, he learned a lot. He had an idea of calligraphy because he learned it. Okay.
That's a
Great.
very good connection, Pranav. Thank you.
Yeah. I think three more have to go
You are
quickly.
right. Yeah. Lakshana?
Ma'am, I think Medini had raised her hand before I did.
My bad. And thanks for that. And thanks for waiting for the turn. Sorry, my bad, Kanna. Medini, yes, go ahead.
I think what two subjects helped me were science and math mainly. And if a new subject was to be introduced to enhance design thinking, uh, for me, I think it would be logical reasoning and more puzzles. Basically, more questions on mental ability.
So logical thinking you're talking about, okay?
Like for me, the subjects which help the most for me are biology and physics. Like physics also incorporates the math required for for the solutions that you need to find. As I've also mentioned that design thinking, like these design thinkings have also helped me solve my physics problems better. So I think it's happened like both ways. Physics has helped me in design thinking, and the design thinking approach has helped me in physics as well. And for a subject that I'd like to incorporate, like we have activities like DT, divergent thinking, and all. And of course, when I was thinking about solutions for like a new subject, I faced a lot of roadblocks, like solutions which aren't exactly perfect as we've mentioned previously in the same panel. And but the thing is that if we have a subject like divergent thinking, some people may think it's too much work or it's a separate subject. So maybe if not as a separate subject, maybe when we're interacting in class as an interactive session in class, as Mansi ma'am had done with ninth grade, maybe we could do that for our classes when they ask us, how do you solve this problem when we read about something in a particular subject. That's for but we can face another roadblock there. That's also very subject related. That's not like as in an entire spectrum. So the subject which I realized that we talk about the most diverse things is actually English. So maybe in English we could and we have various like different stories in English. So with relation to those different stories, we can incorporate the knowledge we have in all of our other subjects, including English and social studies, for example, which is like incorporated in the story. And people of different streams can join, like have an English class together. So they would incorporate their knowledge of subjects in various streams, like science and commerce, if you see in 11th and 12th grade. So I think that may be a more beneficial option.
Yes, Lakshana. Actually, there's a research which says when you teach anything in the story form, that is understood better. Be it nuclear science, be it history, be it mathematics, if you can teach it as a story, it does a better work with the brain, it seems. We'll see this later, okay?
I think that a bit of all the subjects have helped me in design thinking. Maybe a theorem from mathematics or or a topic from chemistry, physics, or biology. Everything in total, when correlated, is helping me the best right now in design thinking. So I think if you want to introduce a new topic or a new class, it would be how to correlate different subjects and implement them in your daily life. Maybe the most uncommon subjects, like which you would never imagine have some relation, English or mathematics. How can you correlate them together and use them in your ideas or use them in your daily life.
Great. Nice. That's what we keep crying out, integrated teaching, connecting concepts. Wonderful.
Yes, sir. And then Maya, I see your hand is raised. Is there anything you would like to add?
Yes, ma'am. There's something I forgot to mention. So another subject, it's not exactly a subject, but it's just a topic that happens in school. So I've been in the school since M3, and since first grade we had divergent thinking, and I think divergent thinking has helped me a lot in design thinking.
Thank you. Yeah, before I hand over to Aarti ma'am back, let's listen to Viba. She's quietly listening to everybody. You have anything to add at this juncture, Viba?
So with regard to subjects?
Anything? See, we have covered a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, I really enjoyed listening to it, and especially the part when Madhu mentioned about starting with your options that you think are most likely to fail, which is so interesting because what we are, so our limitations or our perceptions of what will succeed or will fail is based on our limited knowledge or limited understanding. So I think if we can break limited understanding and knowledge and try to expand that itself, we'll probably come up with better solutions. That's one thing. And like when it comes to subjects, I think the one subject that has really helped me with design thinking is history. Because everything has a context to it. So recently, I've been studying a little bit about mass production, consumer behavior, standardization of products and services. And what I connected it instantly with was the Industrial Revolution. And when I start learning about what happened at that point of time, what were the what was the context at that point and why we're still following that today and how we can break off of it, so that's for me very interesting history. And a subject that I think will be very beneficial for everyone to learn, I think it's cultural studies. I don't know what exactly it would entail in terms of like we know what math is, we know what science is. Um, Cultural studies, I think for me, is more about understanding people, understanding where you come from, understanding who else is there, understanding the aspects of people and culture. So I think, yeah.
Thank you, Viba. Thank you. Yes, Aarti ma'am, you can go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I think it had been really the I think if there is I don't know if there is any tool to test how much your brain is working right away. I think it is all fully how many neurons have been activated right now, probably. I think it's for the entire audience along with you all. We are also being benefited. Thank you so much. Madhu ma'am, first, are there any other questions? Because we kind of looped out almost towards the fag end. Was there anything that you wanted to add, ma'am?
It depends on how much time we have.
Because we just branched out that time, so I wanted to ensure that we didn't cut anything. We didn't have any.
So my question actually kind of like I got answers because my question was very similar to what Sir asked with respect to knowledge, but mine was with respect to skills that you have picked up from your years in school, what that would be. So unless you have a different answer from the knowledge aspect of it, you probably can answer that. Not just with respect to the design thinking process, but through your years in school, have you identified a skill that you are using, you want to kind of sharpen over time, you want to pursue more? And if you think your skill is also the knowledge that you've acquired, then you don't have to answer. But if you think your skill is different, then I'd like to hear. Pranav.
Yeah, I think Pranav has raised his hand. Yeah, Pranav.
Oh, yeah, ma'am. So this is not strictly related to design thinking. I mean, so our school has always had a very hands-on approach to what they teach us. We have a new robotics lab as well. That's like a state of the art, you could say. So I used to spend a lot of time there, and whatever I've worked on a couple of things, and I've realized that the closer you get to what you're making, the easier it is, the faster it is, and the more visceral it is. Otherwise, I mean, you could make slideshows about, your new electric car for all you know, but unless you work with it, you get up close and dirty with your project. Only then you can, feel that satisfaction in the end of it. We've done something, right? And often it's the only time when you get stuff done. You will have a lot of products that you've not completed because you couldn't work with it close enough. So I think that is very important. That's it.
Would you like to pursue the skill?
Yeah. So applied sciences, right? Engineering, applied sciences, those they teach you a lot with just working with scientists, right? And applying the theoretical part of it and just putting it down on the ground. And maybe on computers, but they get up close and dirty. So that's the plan. That's hopefully what I can do later on.
Thank you, Pranav. I think Sanvi raised next. Sanvi?
Yes, ma'am. So, a skill that I have picked up over the years in school is how to communicate and how to relate with others properly. Like, we have a jam on stage. So, the topic, how can I relate with my fellow students, and the teachers? That is the best way to capture their attention when I'm on stage. So, now if I grow up and I have to sell my product, my prototype, I have to relate it with the customers to catch their attention. So I think a skill that I have picked up would be relating and communicating properly with the skill.
That's great, because you might not need to hire a communications or PR person for your industry. Yeah, so that's good.
Ma'am, I just think I've been able to understand more perspectives, how different people look at different things. It's just a better way to find a good solution for the problem.
Yeah, thank you, Medini. Lakshana?
Mine's actually a mix of all of them. Like, I've learned how to approach science using science labs. But similarly, I've also evolved based on my social skills on how to talk to people. I actually like talking to different people who I've met, like new people who I've met. And like when a new, for example, when a new kid joins school, I'd like to talk to them to see what they think about things. And so I think that's helped me in like a manner which I can understand how different people think about different things, what different people need. And I think that will help a lot in the even in the design thinking aspect, because design thinking is consumer based. And so I think my social skills have really improved, and I think they will help me go forward.
Thank you, Lakshana. Then Maya?
Yes, ma'am. So I think the skills that I've picked up that are going to help me in design thinking would be creativity and imagination, because it'll help me maybe be in someone else's shoes and try to find out what problems they face, and also it's going to help me find different solutions to the same problem, different approaches to the solution.
Okay, so my last question to you guys would be the skills and knowledge that you have garnered till now. What impact do you think it's going to have on yourself, and what impact do you think it's going to have on humanity right now? I mean, not in the future, like in this moment.
I think they would probably need a minute. So
have the time, take the time.
So we will wait, dears. You just think. So we will wait.
And since Vibha was the previous, did she win this award previously?
Yes.
You guys?
Yes, ma'am.
So while you guys are thinking, maybe Vibha can tell us what was the skill she picked up from school. And since she's moved out of school now into a different program, how that skill has helped her now, or if she's picked up any other different skills, and how she looks at it from her point of view, having an impact on herself and the impact on humanity.
So I think one of the skills or something that I really enjoyed during school was listening to conversations. Whether it was TIC, LIC, CIC, all of that happened, and that's something I genuinely enjoyed so much, and I still have notes from that, and I do refer because what comes out of conversations, it comes from how do I put it? Okay, so I think let me just come back to the question.
It helps you think more.
Yeah,
Something
maybe.
that
Yeah,
you've never thought of before, and it helps you think in a different way.
absolutely. Yeah, I think perspectives.
Yeah.
To and then to sort of and I think before the we started here, I had spoken about non-judgmental observation. That's something that I picked up in the last 6 to 7 months. Um, that in the recent past, but conversations. I think in listening without judgment, without opinion, without trying to listen through your understanding, but trying to listen through their understanding of things. So I think that's what I've picked up and I enjoy.
That's great. Lakshana.
Ma'am, regarding the question that you had asked just now, you had asked about how our skills would help us impact ourselves and humanity. So like how my skills, I'm talking about, I would like to talk about my social skills here, how they impact myself. Like for example, I learn by asking questions in class and answering in class. If I stay quiet, I tend to like completely lose focus and just zone out. So for me, like the fact that I prefer to like actually ask questions and interact, it's helped me learn many of the concepts that I've learned before, like many of the concepts that I learned in class. If not for that, if I was always too scared to unmute, or if I didn't want to ask questions, I don't think I would have learned anything at all, especially now because everything's online and my attention span tends to be actually quite low.
True.
And for humanity, I think like if suppose other people listen to this panel, I think like it could open their minds up to something different. Like after I listened to the URA panel, I actually learned a lot of things, and I thought a lot about it after listening to that panel. So I like it actually helped me one of the responses for this panel. And I think if people listen to this, what about what I'm saying or what any of you are saying, or like the other panelists or Vibha or you or ma'am, I think they could benefit a lot from like our opinions and like design thinking is starting from somebody else's opinions or somebody else's approach. So I think that would help. I think it would
That's
be
perfect.
beneficial to
That was
humanity.
the intention behind me asking that question, and that's also what Vibha shared. Because a lot of learning that comes from design thinking is through conversations and having no judgments, like Vibha said, and no opinions. So you're only taking in what that conversation holds in its essence. So that's great. Medini or
Thank you,
Sami.
Lakshana. It was Medini and then Sami.
Medini.
Actually, it was quite similar to what Lakshana said. I actually learned to listen more to more people so that I get to understand their perspective, and others can also do the same so that they can get a fresh perspective of daily life things.
Yes.
Thank you, Medini. Sami? Yeah.
Yes. So as I mentioned, the skill that I had picked up was the social skills, and it was how I can relate with others. So I think this will help me right now how I can empathize with others, and it has also taught me not to just hear others, but to listen to them. When I hear something, when I hear a problem or something, I listen to it and then I analyze the problem. What can be done about it? So I think not just hearing, but also listening, analyzing is also a skill that I picked up, and it will help me later on and right now.
Maya.
Thank you, Sanvi. Maya?
Ma'am, the skill I picked up was creativity. So I think creativity would open my mind up. And I think open mind is quite essential for problem solving. And I think it's going to affect, I mean, how it's going to impact the world the same way. So they get to think of different ways and come up with better solutions.
Thank you, Maya. Pranav?
All right. So, yeah, so over the previous 6 or 7 months, over 11th grade, actually, I've learned the art of critical thinking. I mean, like a little bit, right? And, there are very interesting ways to think about the same problem. And like, not only problems, your daily life, daily things, you can look at a book and you can understand a lot of things at once. That is very important, I think, because create critical thinking and lateral thinking. So you can correlate a lot of things. Suppose in the book you can see how the cover was made, you can see how the the right author's writing style, and together you can figure out relations where like others wouldn't have been, not others, otherwise you would not have been able to figure out. So yeah, so I think critical thinking and lateral thinking together, that it can help. Like my goal is maybe to you know help solve people's problems in whatever way I can. So if I can apply both critical and lateral thinking together, maybe I can like come up with new ways of thinking and new ways of approaching old problems.
It's going to be really hard to pick someone.
Yes, ma'am, and I'm really glad I'm not there on that panel.
Yeah. My last question to you guys is, do you think there should be this thing where only one person kind of gets an award for the way you approach a thing? What do you guys think about that? Because I know that's like one of the biggest questions that I've always asked myself. And you guys, you all have been part of this discussion. Like, so the previous two discussions were the same group, or it had more people?
The previous round they are shortlisted from the previous. We had 25 in the previous round, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
We had 25 and we had to pick. We had to the same tough time in narrowing down to one.
Oh yeah, this is very hard. This is very hard. But
I think Pranav raised his hand. Pranav, is there something that you wanted to add?
No, I'll just formulate my thoughts better and then come up with an answer.
Okay.
Because it's only fair for you guys to assess yourselves too, because you've been part of this process too. So you should be allowed to like kind of, give yourself points too and others points too. Instead of, only one person kind of saying, I'm going to score you on something. Shouldn't self-assessment be part of this entire process? Sanvi
has something.
Ma'am, I think self-assessment should be part of the process, because when you review yourself, you may think of something that others may not think of, and that is the great motivation for myself, at least. So when I review myself, I get even more points of that I did not think of before, and that next time when I have to do that, I get even better at it. So I think that should be a part of this. And maybe a part of this could also be where your classmates also assess you. You have different people's perspective, not just teachers. The students' perspective on your ideas is also a good method for.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think Lakshana is waiting. Lakshana?
Ma'am, you had mentioned 2 points about self-assessment and a specific award to see who is the best design thinker. I would say that self-assessment is very important for the same reasons that Sanvi said. But I also want to say that the how a person thinks, it's also based on the time. It's not like sometimes people may not perform their best at a particular point of time, or sometimes people may have a mind block, like writer's block, or like a mind block, and they can't think of the solutions properly. It takes sometimes that doesn't determine how good at design thinking they are. And it's not like anybody's bad at design thinking. It just comes to them at a specific moment of time. It's like the moments that we've mentioned before. And different people approach different problems with like their ways. And a lot of our like solutions overlapped. Like what I said, somebody else thought the same thing. What somebody else said, I had the same opinion in my mind. So maybe like it's not exactly a person who's the best design thinker. It's more like today was more like a very interesting panel discussion among different people. And about design thinking, about what I've understood in the past few, about maybe like a month, I've come up with 3 words, which I'd like to call the 3 O's, which is being observant, original, and open-minded.
That's great. I think we should also grade on 3 O's or something like that. That's very interesting. Yes.
Thanks to the 3 O's, Lakshana. I'll go with the Medini.
What my answer is also similar to what is already said. Self-assessment is important, but others' opinions about you is just as important. And about the second part of the question, it may not be that there's only one person who's the best and only one person who deserves it, even though others do. It's just at that point of time, it may have seemed that they were the best.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Medini. Pranav?
Yeah, ma'am. So I was just thinking, while all of them are correct, and self-assessment is very important, of course. That obviously adds a dimension to what the judges have already judged you for. And I think we should be able to trust the judges in any setting to be able to decide. Obviously, it's a very tough ask, but in the end, I think it should be all right to have a final decision. Otherwise, I mean, it doesn't bring closure to the event. Of course, you don't need to take the final decision as the damning part of the event, but I think if you come up with a final decision with like a justified reason behind it, I think it's a perfectly reasonable conclusion to this discussion, because I'm sure it's very fruitful, right? It was very interesting to listen to all of everyone, but sure, I think
bring closure.
Yeah, to bring closure, of course, and that sense of working towards something, of course. I mean, if that's what some people are motivated towards.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a very interesting discussion because I learned a lot of things. Initially, I came to the event, frankly, thinking that the solution would be like the end result, and or what, like a very big step. But I figured out, as you said very early on, that finding problems and not solutions is very important. So I had to throughout the discussion, I was like working in my head to try and change and reset like the entire perception of that, and I think I've succeeded in that. So thanks a lot for that.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you, Pranav. And Maya?
Yes, ma'am. I think self criticism is important because it helps you. It might help you think what other people feel about your solution and how others will benefit from your solution. And it also, as I said before, it helps you get better. So it's like an evaluation stage where you don't have to ask someone else, but you can evaluate yourself. So I think it gives you an independence. And whether this competition should have a single winner, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they are for
design
them.
thinking problem for who was organizing this. How do we find a solution for that? Yeah.
On that note, I guess we need to give our judges a little bit time so that they can take such a big decision. Honestly speaking, after being part of that process or being on that side for the first 2 rounds, it's very happy that I don't have to do this. So now maybe we can do one thing. We can have like an open forum for others to ask their question. If they have anything that we would like to add in, we have our mentors here, we have some students here. If they want to share some inputs on design thinking, because listening to these discussions, went back and started thinking on many things, especially about the satisfaction part, where we were talking about satisfaction, happiness, and all of that. And I remember my grandmother always saying, and I think that's something that has happened with all of us, wherein they used to say that Santoshi, Sada Sukhi, and all of that, dialogues that were given to us when we were small, because I was always the one who would probably the very outstanding child in my home. And at that time, we used to always debate. Okay, if we are satisfied, then I don't need to, do anything extra. So what is it? Whether you need to be satisfied in life or you need to be happy with what you have, which one goes down. And I remember having like a little war with my grandmother on this. Any mentors who would like to share something or ask something, have a feedback for us, maybe how we can create a better experience.
Shweta ma'am, I think before we open it to mentors, there are few children who had been in the previous round, whose responses were also very, very good, but very close, just very close to coming onto the panel. That's all. So, children, if there are any participants who have some questions or the feedback on how you felt the session was, we would like to hear from you, and then we will. I think we can extend to mentors. The children who have been in the session, who were, according to us, I think all of you were really, really design thinkers, opening up wonderful perspectives for many of us. We had a really, really tough and challenging time in picking up. I think now, Shweta, that's the reason you can see the big smile on Shweta ma'am's face. She's relieved of that one now. So, children, as the participants, would you like to add anything?
Ma'am, I don't really have much to add, but I think even spectating this panel discussion was a very good experience. And I think it helped all the listeners gain a lot of exposure as well.
Thank you so much, Stuti. But as I said, the decision was too close. Every solution was very unique and very probably we should suggest having a panel to see what ideas can be implemented. We should take it up further there. So thank you, Stuti. Yeah, Veda, were you able to say something?
Yes, I think it's really nice to listen to the entire discussion, and there are a lot of different ideas and thoughts that really stayed with me, which I can think about for the next few days and maybe even months and years.
Yeah, I think sir is ready with the results. So over to you, sir, for announcing the winner.
Okay. Actually, looking at the points scored by each of the participants, I think the difference between each participant, though they are from different grades, is not much. It's all in points, not more than 1 or 2. And each judge also has given very close to each other. It is not that there's a big difference in one judge and that is compensated by other judge. So the opinion is almost unanimous. No, the pattern is similar. And I always feel relieved if the difference between the participants are not much. If it is much, we have to worry about something. So I would like to declare all the 5 as winners, but for the sake of the scholarship, we have to take 2 names. And you remember I asked this question about knowledge and being able to think better. That has come true. So Pranav and Lakshana both are joint winners.
Thank you, sir.
That's one more point I would like to say. I know Biba also belongs to the same house. They both belong to the same house. You didn't get the point?
I think Vibha was Ganga House.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Vibha was from Ganga House, sir. And these 2 are from Kaveri.
So, okay. Now at least both the winners are from Kaveri. Your house should be jubilant now. It happens very rarely that you get a coveted position from the same house. So, congratulations to both of you. Normally, we give a scholarship for the remaining period of study at the school, which we will give to Pranav. and we'll think and decide what we can do for Lakshana. Okay, don't get disappointed. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, all the best. Over to you, Aarti ma'am.
Congratulations, Lakshman.
Congrats, sir. Would you also like to add a few words to the other participants as well?
That's what I started with, Aarti ma'am.
Correct,
Actually,
sir.
these five, if these five have come up to this level, it doesn't mean the others are not up to this level. When there is a question of selection, always somebody gets a few points noticed and they go up. So I am very glad to say that the entire school, even from grade 1, they're all doing great in all the aspects. These are all compartments we make: design thinking or creative thinking or the scientific thinking. But in general, I would like to wish all the best to all the children and continue with the same effort. It is not that they are doing only what the teachers are telling them. They are having their own pursuits and they are all doing wonderfully well. Keep it up. Never get disappointed if you are not selected for an award. But you also look at being at that level. Like I always say, if our children don't get Nobel Prize, I don't mind. But I want them to have noble minds. They should feel they are at that level. Because getting a Nobel Prize is a lot of politics. But being at that level is no politics. Okay? So I am happy, I am glad, and I am thankful to all the support we get from our mentors that we are able to do all these things. The level of thinking and discussion is really great. Keep it up. All right? Thank you and all the best.
I invite Nandi ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, would you like to say something?
Yeah, first and foremost, great job, each one of you. Thank you, Madhu ma'am, for being here and maneuvering the whole discussion in such a wonderful way. It was so wonderful, like I was awestruck. And the responses all of them have given is just amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Aarti ma'am, Mansi ma'am, for bringing the whole discussion together and being there. And great job, children, Pranav and Lakshana, and all the five of you. I think the points were just point, decimal. So that kind of difference. So great job. So all the best, and each one of you are a great design thinker. And thanks to the guidance and the ideas Madhu gave. So it was just amazing. Thank you so much, sir, for giving this platform to us. And thanks to each one of you for being here on a Saturday afternoon. So all the best. Thank you once again. Thank you, Vibha. Thank you so much for spending time here. I know you're very busy with your college, but thanks for being here. Thanks to each one of you. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The main tenet of design thinking is empathy for the people who are trying to design something. I quote Dr. Prabjot Singh, who's the director of systems design at the Earth Institute. He said that we spend a lot of time designing the bridge, but not enough time thinking about the people who are going to cross it. Leadership is exactly like the same thing, building empathy for people that you're entrusted to help. We're very proud to see that human-centered design as a philosophy is already ingrained in all our students' minds. Once again, I would like to use this wonderful opportunity to thank our chairman, sir, principal ma'am, Madhu ma'am, Sarvesh sir, vice principal ma'ams, and the entire team for creating this distinct opportunity for our cubs. I would like to extend special thanks to all the Gear Cubs and the mentors for joining us and making this a huge success. Thank you and have a great weekend ahead. Bye-bye.